One of the big warnings that we give people, and this is something that I learned just through observing friends trying to make their own movies for, almost 30 years, is that there's always going to be some asshole that you run into who's like, oh, you're shooting your thing on what? I'm shooting mine on the red, whatever the fuck, the latest thing from this year. And it's like, as soon as somebody says that, you know that their movie is going to suck.
Welcome to another CG garage where the monstrous moon shines. Yeah. We're building new Hollywood like in 1971's prime. From monsters, bull dreams to AS fever dream, where tech meets the silver LED screen. Pixels and passion are pipelines unknown. Two hosts, one show on a deadline postponed.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the CG Garage. This is episode number 540, featuring Sean Rourke, who is the head of editorial over at the Third Floor. Of course, everyone knows who the Third Floor is, but if you don't, the Third Floor is one of the top previous places in the world, and they've done incredible work on some of the biggest movies around. Now, Sean, of course, is a part of the editorial team there, and he helps shape the story in different ways, and we talk a lot about that. But if you go and listen to the podcast, you'll notice that Sean seems to hint that he just happens to be at the right place at the right time, and all of his career successes come by being in the room at the right time. And there is some truth to that, but obviously, and that's an important part of where you need to be. You need to be at the right place. But Sean is definitely very, very, very talented, and we learn a lot about his background and about his career and how editing has become so important. He is also part of the Tuesday night writers group, which was a group of people that got together every Tuesday night, including Daniel Thron, my co-host, and in fact, Andy Cochrane was also part of that. He was on the podcast a couple episodes ago. But yeah, that group is a very creative people, and they were very, very resourceful, and I think that resourcefulness and that ability to think about smart ways of doing creative projects is going to be a huge benefit right now to people thinking about what they want to do, especially in their careers. So awesome to have Sean on. Really glad to hear about everything that's going on. And it's a long episode, so dive in, and it is a good one. So definitely listen to the whole thing. Okay, a couple of announcements. I will be at NAB in April. If you guys happen to be at NAB, let me know what you're going to be there for, and we'd love to find out more. We can connect on certain things. I might even bring my podcast gear with me in case you guys want to record a podcast. Best thing to do to reach out to us is on our email. podcast@cggarage.com. podcast@cggarage.com is our email. But if you'd like to check us out in other places, if you want to know more about the podcast, just go to cggarage.com for our website. Of course, our YouTube has become more and more popular, and so make sure and go there and like and subscribe to us there. It is still fairly new, but growing, and it's youtube.com/@cggaragepodcast, youtube.com/@cggaragepodcast. If you'd like to be part of the discussion that happens after the podcast, we'd love to hear you from there as well. And we have a great and active Discord at cggarage.com/Discord, which will redirect you to the Monstrous Moonshine Discord, which includes, of course, the podcast as well. So just go to cggarage.com/Discord for that information. But for now, please enjoy episode number 540 with Mr. Sean Rourke.
This episode of CG Garage is sponsored by CenterGrid Virtual Studio. Wondering why you went to film school just to be stuck managing hardware life cycles? CenterGrid delivers end-to-end GPU-accelerated cloud workstations built specifically for VFX and creative production, with flat, predictable pricing and personalized support from people who actually get your workflow. Plus, CenterGrid is TPN Gold Shield certified, so your studio's security is locked down. Check out what Virtual Studio can do for your pipeline at cgvirtualstudio.com. This episode of CG Garage is sponsored by Kitbash 3D, one of our favorite tools and an essential tool for 3D artists everywhere. With the largest library of cinematic quality, production-ready 3D assets, Kitbash 3D ensures that your studio has the tools to build stunning environments quickly, efficiently, and at scale. Design detailed worlds in a fraction of the time without compromising on quality. Head to kitbash3d.com and use the code CGGarage at checkout for 10% off any kit. Again, that's kitbash3d.com, code CGGarage.
Thanks for taking a weekend to do this. I appreciate it. I know we're all busy, but I appreciate you coming on. And this is really cool to have you. But how do you guys know each other? You guys are old friends, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, good. Wow. When was the first time we met? I can't remember. This is like 20 years, 19 years.
Yeah. So if I'm remembering correctly, my own legendarium, I think that the first time I came over to what would become our Tuesday night writing group would have been 2006, 2007.
Yep, that's about right. I think that's
something
right.
like that.
Yep.
But strangely enough, I had heard your name spoken before that because
in curses,
my high school girlfriend who moved out here, Katrina.
Oh yeah, right.
Who wound up being married to a friend of yours.
Yes, that's right.
Who rest in peace.
Yes, absolutely.
So like I was talking with Katrina like over lunch or something like that, and she was like, "Do you happen to know somebody? You work in visual effects. Do you know somebody named Dan Thron?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "Okay, well that's the only visual effects person I know." So that's it. And then like 2 years later, I met you.
Yeah.
And then another 2 years later, I realized who you were when Katrina had like a birthday party or something like that. You came and I was like, "What?
Yeah.
What?"
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I believe. She is back in the Midwest doing some reporting now. She's back in the
she works for the local news affiliate in my hometown of Omaha, Nebraska now.
Super sick.
And
absolutely awesome.
She is an on-camera reporter.
Yes, absolutely awesome. So to connect the dots even further, this was at the Tuesday night writers group hosted.
Tell me about this Tuesday night writers group. What is?
Hosted by.
What's all this then?
Hosted by a Discord member and star of Things We Have Shot, Dave Bryant, who also listens to this podcast. And Dave is obviously, for everyone listening, he's a partner in crime of all of ours for many, many years, decades, in fact.
Also, a head of a crime ring in the June-July VidViz that we did.
That's right. That's right. We all paused like, is he going to talk about the real crime ring that Dave runs?
No,
just in the VidViz.
No, just in the movie. Yeah. He was the guy who's, I call Karen and I, it's like, which one is he? He's like the accountant, the one who's obsessed about the money.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Dave is
who's shaming everybody else.
Right.
Dave has texted me to let me know that he's really psyched with this podcast, and so I want to say hi to Dave from all three of us right now. So there we go.
Hey guys.
There we are. Also, a major member of that group was Andy Cochrane, who we also had on just a week or two ago.
That's why I want to connect all these dots so people understand who all these different people are.
Yep.
So so Dave started this writing group. What was it all about?
This is an interesting. This covers a lot of ground. You go for it, Sean. I'm saying things to
no, I mean, it's a good. This really and I think this kind of gets to what I think you guys do on this podcast a lot is that it was a way for Dave to get together a bunch of people who he knew from different avenues that were all just kind of creative people, and he just figured if I get all these folks together in a room, some interesting stuff is going to happen.
Exactly.
I think if Dave were here, he'd be like, "No, man, I just want to get some people together to drink." But
also true.
My take on it, my take on it was that Dave and Dave and Dan have been friends since high school, and so Dan was always. I think Dan was regularly over at Dave's apartment, and Dave was just like, "Well, let's get some more creative people in here and we can all sort of bounce off of one another."
Good idea. All right.
And so we all started just sort of bringing pages of scripts that we were working on and bouncing ideas around with one another, and just basically found just a very supportive room of like-minded, smart people, people who are way smarter than me. I mean, that was the thing that I loved so much about it, was that it was people who were smarter than me, who were better than me at just about everything. So I learned and fed off of
Well,
you
everyone
and
have brought their
David and the people
superpower, I think
there.
is the way to say it, because Sean is one of the most talented and prolific people I've ever known in my entire life. He is he writes radical amounts of material, and it's all insanely clever, and he knows structure probably better than anyone I've ever met in my life.
No structure, you said?
Yes, and
Wow.
Thank
so I think that the two-standard group. Also, we should say that Ben Hansford, another friend of the podcast, was a member of this
Absolutely.
group. So yes, this is it's spread far and wide.
I feel
And
like
so-
I missed out on the whole part of something.
This is it. This is the
This
Tuesday night
is
branch.
really, I'm
Yeah.
very hurt, actually.
You should feel now it's an acceptance. This is it. We're all together finally, spiritually.
Okay, all right.
But
you
yeah,
didn't
I
know
think-
me that much back then, I guess. We didn't.
Yeah,
well,
we
we
were-
did
yeah.
know each other, but we
Yeah, we
didn't,
knew each other, but we were actually just working together at that point.
Yeah.
And I think that it has been really interesting to see how things have progressed for everybody in that group and for Chris and I since that time, and how things have sort of remained connected, even as, people went out and did different things and, like went, other parts of the country and whatnot. Like the core creative pinball machine that we created there has been active in my life ever since, and has been a really important part of like how I think about stuff since then.
That's well said. That's well said. And I when I look back sort of on my life, I feel like I have been lucky enough to bounce into a group of creative people sort of at multiple different stages.
Mm-hmm.
And I always forget how important that is until suddenly I'm in it.
Yeah.
And so I like a lot of times, people who are younger who ask me, like, should I go to film school? Like, what, how should I progress, in my career? I want to be doing amazing stuff. I want to live this interesting life and be creative and work in entertainment and all this sort of thing. And like, I say yes to all of that. But one thing that I don't think I ever heard was that you don't create stuff in a vacuum.
Amen.
And you don't get better in a vacuum.
Yeah.
And I think when you first start thinking about yourself as like, oh, I want to be a director or something like that, you think of you as sort of like the big picture decision-making auteur, and there being sort of like an army of people who run around and do things for you.
Right.
Something
Do your
like
bidding
that.
and you make, like all the
Exactly.
great stuff comes from your lone brain.
Get me
exactly.
a camera.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
someone
Camera
who can
person?
operate
Yes.
it.
Right.
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 But what I've come to realize, and a big part of this Tuesday night group kind of made me recognize that, was that you only get better when you surround yourself with a group of people who also do the same thing.
Yeah.
Who try to come up with cool ideas, who try to make characters work inside of a story, people who read things you've never heard of, people who watch movies you've never seen, and talk about all of that stuff. And it just immediately broadens your horizons and gets you thinking in ways outside of the very specific line of anime that you always watch.
Yeah.
So-
Exactly.
But
So-
but at the same time, you can offer a point of view of that very specific anime that you always watch that
Oh,
you
that's
may
part
not
of
have heard.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
you add your superpower to that group, and everyone is and because I was just talking to Ben about this. I'm just sort of like I believe in a sense, I believe the like the French auteur theory, like yes, Francis Ford Coppola is the master of such and so, and Denis Villeneuve, and et cetera, and like this is true. I mean, because like say Denis Villeneuve movies have a certain voice. Wes Anderson has a very strong voice, that kind of stuff. But it should always be noted, like Wes Anderson is a corporation called Wes Anderson
Oh my
that
god!
has a person working at it
brand.
called it's a brand, and it
Yeah.
has a person at the head called Wes Anderson. But there's 20 people there who he's been working with for 35 years.
Yeah.
And it is that blend of creatives that produces what they sell. you know, and like David Lynch is the same way. It's just David Lynch was like the credits for all of his movies. It's the same Jack Fisk. It's like every single person is the same every go round because he knows that this particular blend, you know, this particular recipe creates this flavor, which is something they all want to be a part of. And I think you're right with Tuesday. There's a few threads off of the Tuesday night experience. Props to Dave. That I wanted to pull out with you. One is that when we would actually get together and shoot things, it produced some, I thought, amazing work at extremely lo-fi values. That was still a great watch. In fact, it was often a better watch than many of the finals that I'd be responsible for. Other people would just be like, well, like when we shot it in Dave's garage, it was just like it had magic, you know, whatever it was. And the other is that given the state of Hollywood today, and you brought it up with like people that want to be directors now and filmmakers now, like what has changed from say 2 years ago in terms of advice? As you teach a filmmaking class essentially at Comic-Con, very, very popular class. Like what has changed for you in how you see what people should do?
That's a real good question, Dan. Because it is, you know, if we do the class this year, I never know until like a month before the convention if we're coming back or not. But so far, we've come back for 20 straight years.
Yeah.
So
you've taught a class at Comic-Con for 20 years.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Yeah,
years.
It's great. Yeah, incredible.
Okay. Yeah. And it's just called Comic-Con Film School, and it's just four days, an hour each morning, and one day we talk about pre-production. The next day we talk about production. The next day we talk about working with actors and a crew. And then the fourth and final day we talk about post. And it's just meant to, it's not Hollywood information at all. It is very much bare bones. Like if you want to shoot your first project, this is where you want to, you know, spend your time, money, and effort. And so because it's been 20 years, every year we do course correct the class just a little bit, based on whatever has changed in the technology and the opportunities that people have. And when we first
with AI, did you do a complete U-turn?
I know there's so many threads. There's so many threads now. It's insane.
We have yet to actually talk about AI. That is still so new that we have yet to actually talk about it. It may come up this year, maybe the year afterwards. Luckily, Ben Hansford is on my panel, and
okay, good.
He knows
that's right. And he teaches AI at USC, right? He has taught AI.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah, filmmaking.
But like when we first started the class back in 2004, 2005, we were teaching mini DV. 720 by 486 standard definition, like that's what was available.
Right.
And now we teach the phone in your pocket.
At 4K.
Can shoot a resolution that is larger than what was projected on film in theaters for 100 years. So that
Samsung makes an 8K camera just like
an 8K. Oh my god!
On your Samsung. I just saying, when you start having a sensor that's like this big, like teeny big, and you say it does 8K, you are not getting a great image.
No, that's very true. That's very true. And that's why it's so much fun talking with visual effects people, because you can actually like dig into that and be like, but
the laws of light don't work.
Exactly.
The Planck length comes into play. Yeah. But certainly, like you're working with like the value, the what you can get, the bang for your buck has gone up radically.
Right.
For sure. Yeah. And one of the big warnings that we give people, and this is something that I learned just through observing friends trying to make their own movies for, you know, almost 30 years, is that there's always going to be some asshole that you run into who's like, oh, you're shooting your thing on what? Right. I'm shooting mine on the red, whatever the fuck, that is the latest thing from this year. And it's like, as soon as somebody says that, you know that their movie is going to suck.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that they're concerned about is the image quality of their camera and being able to say that they shot on something expensive.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
But the audience does not care.
Right.
The audience wants to see something fun. They want to see a good story. They want to see fun characters. And you don't need a red camera for that.
dude, I'm watching
just
Thundar the Barbarian on Tubi, all of it. Okay, that's like 6 frames a second, and most of it's borrowed from Scooby-Doo. I don't give a shit about quality.
Exactly.
Like that's how it goes.
So that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that we kind of try to get across in this class,
Right.
is that the technology. There's always going to be a better camera. And as a filmmaker, it's very easy to fall into that, to dragon sickness.
Yeah.
To reference Tolkien, where you're just like, oh, but if I just had a camera that had a larger CCD that, shot at this particular
then the magic
depth.
That would make my story better.
Exactly. Then I would feel like I could really, and it's just.
It's not your garbage screenplay that's the problem. It's the lens.
Exactly. It's meaningless. It is a mermaid luring you onto the rock.
It's creative procrastination, right?
Yeah.
You creatively procrastinate by saying, "Oh, I just need to do this, and then I'll get to it. Oh, I just need to do this, and then I'll get to it. If I just fix this part, then it'll look better. Oh, and I just need to do this. I just need to,
Yeah. No, you can follow that rabbit. Down that rabbit hole lies just certain death. It's all there. It's just creative death.
For sure.
And I've definitely gone down it myself. You imagine that this is going to help you out or make you more legitimate in some way. And I feel like this is like the joy, to bring it around to the Tuesday night experience, is like that we were really good, I think, at, especially when we would go and shoot in Dave's basement. Like, we put in the creative time anyway, and the story came through in those things. Like when you shot like the zombie thing, we shot like stuff downstairs. We shot part of Ben's ads or something like this downstairs. And like
Chris, I have to I don't know how to explain this to where you'll be able to see it with your own eyes, but like I watched something that Dan and Dave and Dave's roommate Mike shot.
Okay.
That was two guys who were inside part of a giant war mech that had just crashed, and they were doing a scene where they were trying to figure out if anybody else was still alive in the mech, and they were trying to pry open a hatch to look outside and see, and they shot the entire thing in Dave's kitchen in front of his dishwasher.
That's it. Like no VFX, nothing.
100% compelling. There were 2 camera setups. That's it. Just reverse shot on the 2 actors sweating.
But that's what you need. You need that kind of innovation, right? But you need to use. You can't go very wide when you do things like that.
Well, yeah, but you take advantage of it. Yeah, exactly.
So you're inside of a mech, you can't go wide. Yeah,
right. You build a story that works, and so like the fact that your camera is crammed up right next to the guy inside the thing, you're paying attention. Like we had, of course, like Mike Faraday is one of the best actors I've ever gotten to work with, and so like having you're up there with Mike, you're so focused on Mike that you're like, wait a minute, is that Fiesta wear? Never comes up. I think that is really the that is the thing that I do wish that even giant scale movies would learn today. It's just especially now, I bring this up all the time. It's just my kids seeing the stuff that my youngest son watches. He was 18 and watches on YouTube, super in-depth character stuff, like this woman relating her Dungeons and Dragons story and all the characters and everything like this. And he's watching episodes and episodes and episodes of this. And it's literally, she's drawn out, and not even great drawings, drawn out what her adventure campaign is. And she's just narrating it. It's got 4 million views, easy. Right. And the story is so insanely compelling. And that's what's got him. It's not the production value. It's not the amount of, bits in the computer. It's not any of that stuff. It's the fact that it's giving him permission to imagine something that's really powerful, and hooking him in this way. And I feel like that when we've done our best stuff, it's when we're thinking like that. And when I've done my worst stuff, it's when I'm not thinking like that. And and trying to, as Hollywood's going through such troubles, I think it's more important than ever for people to relocate that ideal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your background, Sean? Where did you come from where you got involved in all this stuff?
Yeah. So I grew up the child of magicians.
Yeah, right on.
And
You're not the
they
first person who had a magician father. Who else did we just interview?
really.
Yeah,
Who
there's
else? Someone we just interviewed was a magician. His father was a magician. I can't remember who it was now.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I can't remember it either. But yes, I think
I love it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
because I would also, when I was a kid, I was fascinated by magic. That's what got me into, before I was into movies, like I was taking magic classes as well. But you actually come from a bona fide, like, genetic line of magicians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 100% magician.
Are you a magician yourself? And if you
No,
are,
not
okay.
not in the slightest.
Then-
and that's
Then
the
I'm not
metaphor.
going to
Whereas-
ask you for Magic Castle tickets. So that's okay.
yeah, I couldn't get those for you anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a while there, but yeah, no, because my dad was the one who got bit by the magic bug.
Uh-huh.
He loved magic, like he loved it, and he performed he still performs in front of kids. The man is pushing 80.
Okay.
But because I grew up with it, it was just normal life
Right.
for me.
Right.
And sitting in front of, the TV on Saturday morning watching cartoons, I was supposed to sit there and practice one-handed cuts
Yep.
with a deck of cards
Mhm.
and practice my fans and my flourishes and stuff like that. And so when I graduated high school and moved to college, I was like, no, never again. And so I do not practice any magic anymore, but I'm a very appreciative audience member.
Mhm.
But a couple of things that sort of came from that upbringing was, one, learning the art of misdirection
Mhm.
and the art of holding the audience's attention.
Yes.
And everything that went along with that, along with showmanship, punctuality, checking all of your props before you go to a show, like the charging money to perform for people, like all of these things were lessons that I learned. And then also, my parents just loved movies.
Mhm.
And we, as a family, we didn't have a lot of money, but we went to the movies almost every weekend.
Mhm.
And so when I told my parents that I wanted to go to film school, they were not like, no, you have to become an accountant. There was
Well, they were
nothing like that.
magicians.
They were-
How could they tell you to be an
Exactly.
Although
they
I
were
think
absolutely overjoyed.
it's fair advice for any parent to say, like, don't get into filmmaking. You will starve to death.
They
We care
did
about you.
maybe have that conversation with me when I said I wanted to be an actor.
Yeah, there you go. Same
but-
difference.
But it was not like a no, you can't do that.
Right,
It was like
right.
a just next time you go to, your performance this weekend, just think about that.
Yep.
And so
We know that you want to do this, but why not have a fallback of actually being able to pay for food?
it's you're saying the same words my dad said, almost exactly. Yeah. And I mean, certainly you can debate back and forth, like, well, but if you have a fallback, then you never fully commit,
Mhm,
and so you're dooming yourself to failure, and like all these things, and like now in my 50s, I'm like, okay, maybe, but I think kind of all of that is just sort of self-help bullshit talk.
Yep.
To begin with,
Mhm.
but anyway, you asked me what my story was, and I'm getting off track. So I went to film school in Santa Fe, New Mexico, at a school that doesn't exist anymore, and met a whole bunch of wonderful people out in the desert, including the girl that I fell in love with and married. And when it came time to graduate, like, we all just moved out here to LA, and because it was such a small school and we all got along so well, it just worked out that we all kind of started working in the same places and we hung out a lot. And so we were sort of magnetizing like other people into our orbits.
When did you move to LA?
That would have been February of 1997.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And I was out here for 3 months before I finally got a nibble on my resume. Worked for or got an interview with a trailer house. Who trailer production house, but they were taking their time deciding on whether or not they wanted to hire me. And it was through a temp agency that I'd finally, a friend of mine from school was like,
And what did you want to do do you want to get into editing or post or?
Oh, no, I wanted to direct, write and direct, like everybody else.
Right.
But that's nice when you just are fresh out of film school with a resume. Like they're not offering director writer jobs to anybody straight out of school.
Right.
So I got in with this temp agency because I was running out of money, and they were like, okay, so we're gonna send you to this visual effects company that needs somebody to man the phones for a week while their receptionist is on vacation or something like that. And so I went and did that and walked into the Kodak building on basically across streets of Highland and Las Palmas, or Highland, Santa Monica, essentially. And we were on the third floor with a window that looked out on the Hollywood sign. And it was just magic.
There it is. Yeah, right.
All of the people there were so cool. And they were of like all different ethnicities and all different ages. There were young people, there were old people. Right. Everyone was super smart. Everyone was super creative. They were all really funny. And they were working on these really cool movies. I think Cinesight had just finished working on Space Jam by that time. And they were working on Sphere and The Flood, which became Hard Rain, and one or two others at that point. And I was just like, oh my God, this is what I was looking for. And then the temp agency was like, congratulations, you've been hired by the Trailer House. And I was like, but I kind of like it here. And they're like, too bad. This other place is buying you.
Right.
And we are selling you.
Right.
So, anyway, so I went to the guy who was, and I was just a runner at this point. I mean, I was just a, temp receptionist / guy wiping down the counters in the kitchen. Right. And I went to my supervisor. I was like, so I have to go take this other job. And he was like, all right, well, if you're ever looking for a job again, come hit me up. And so I left and went to this trailer company, and it fucking sucked. It was awful. It was, there were multiple times where I worked 24-hour shifts.
Oh my God.
There were multiple times. I mean, it was very long hours. The people were all hated one another. They hated their families. They never wanted to go home. It was a bad, they were all very drunk. No, that's not true. They weren't all very drunk.
That's visual effects. Sorry. This is just par for the course in the visual effects industry. Yeah. Exactly. Are you sure you weren't working at Digital Domain? I'm just making sure. They were only very drunk.
Yeah. But if I had not had that experience of working that 1 week at Cinesight in the visual effects world, I would have just thought as my first job, like, well, this is just Hollywood.
Right.
And I didn't realize that I wasn't actually even in Hollywood at that point. I was in marketing.
Right.
And so anyway, it got to be like, I checked with somebody and was like, how long do I have to wait before I can go hit up an old employer from a temp job I had? And the law was 3 months. So to the day, I went back over to Cinesight and I was like, hey, you said if I was ever looking, I should hit you up. And my old boss was like, oh, you're hired. And I was like, and I drove back over to the trailer house and was like, I quit.
Take it
and
easy.
They were like, you need to give us 2 weeks. And I'm like, sorry, they need me for SIGGRAPH next week. You got 1 week out of me. And that was it. And I never looked back. And then I was a runner for 8 months at Cinesight. And then the chief engineer liked the fact that on my resume, I said I could work with 3/4 inch tape. Because we had 3/4 inch decks at the film school I went to. And he was like, so if our tape op ever needs to go on vacation, you can just fill in for him. And I was like,
do you know what this is? What is this?
Yeah, exactly. And so the tape op went on vacation and I spent a week in his place. And then he came back and he was like, you know what? I don't think I want to work in visual effects anymore. And he left and they were like, Sean, you're hired, or you're promoted.
Right.
And my very first day of working in the cold room with all those CPUs, just decks of, like D1 tapes and Digibeta and all this stuff that doesn't exist anymore. I got a call from the vice president of the company, and he was like, "Hey, we've got a 3/4 inch tape stuck in the deck up here in the conference room. Can you come and help us out?" And I'm thinking, I only know one trick for getting a tape out of a 3/4 inch deck, and it was one that the chief engineer at my film school showed us how to do randomly. There's no way this is the thing. And I walked in there and they were having a conversation, clients in there and everything. And I just like unscrewed the top of the deck and just like massaged the flywheel, and the tape let go and it ejected, and I pulled it out. And the VP was like, "Wow, all right, we've got the right guy here." And I'm like, that is literally the only thing I know. But
It's amazing.
if you look out, great.
You know what it was? Sean, that was a magic trick is what you did.
That's exactly like it. And that was a piece of advice that my dad always gave my sister and I was, as a magician, if it works, claim it.
That's right. I meant to do this.
That's
exactly.
That's what you're supposed to say is, ta-da.
Yeah, well done.
Yes.
So meanwhile,
Exactly.
you're climbing the ranks of this. Your life is like the plot of the Hudsucker Proxy.
Yes, it's right. It's exactly. Hey, I was like, I've seen this movie before.
For kids. You're hired.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
now
So
I slung tapes for a little while in the cold room, and the chief engineer, who was a very nice guy, who was quite a bit older than me, came up to me and was like, "Just a little bit of advice: don't try and do this for a living, because all this here is going away." And he knew about 4 or 5 years in advance that tape was going to disappear. Everything was going to be digital.
he knew about the tsunami in Japan, destroyed the entire factories of tapes.
Wiped it out. Yeah, exactly.
That's come up on the podcast before. Like when that tsunami hit in Japan,
that was the tipping point.
That was the last factory to make tapes.
Yep.
D1 tapes.
Really?
Stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I
And
didn't
so
know that.
when that hit, it basically forced the hand of Hollywood to give up on tape and go to hard drives.
Yeah. I mean, it would have happened eventually anyway, but
It would have happened eventually, but they're like, I guess we're doing this now. Because you couldn't get a D1 tape anymore.
Yeah.
So that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe Dave McAdams caused that tsunami.
It's very, very true.
Highly
Yeah,
possible.
that would fit his legend. But I think it's amazing that your leveling up in this is because of the dying breath of old technology saying like I give this gift to you. You will be able to repair this strange box that no one knows how to operate.
Yeah, that will then disappear from the world forever. And that was, I mean, you say that it's actually a great observation, because while I was at Cinesight, Cinesight I'm sorry, this is visual effects talk for a few minutes here. This is
what this podcast is all good.
Okay,
100%.
Gotcha. So while I was there, Cinesight was a division of Kodak that developed a software called Cineon, which was used for, among other things, compositing and the scanning and recording of film stock into a computer so that it could be manipulated digitally. So we had at Cinesight was basically like the visual effects company that they built as a case study to use this software and hardware. And so we were constantly scanning negative and bringing it into the computer. And then we had armies of compositors and trackers and roto guys and, the CG animators and stuff like that who would work on the footage for, the X-Men movies, Air Force One, Red Planet was the big one that I was on, Ocean's 11, like all this stuff. But over the 5 years that I was there, I watched as we got less and less film in. We shot out less and less film. We projected less and less film in our screening room. And then about a year or two after the company closed, because Kodak their stock was in free fall because film was going away. Then all that film, all of that work just disappeared. All the people who did that suddenly had no jobs. Hollywood used to be was canvassed with places that were film labs and post-production facility, like cutting rooms and and they're all gone now. They've all been turned into gallery spaces or knocked over for luxury condos or stuff like that. And it was
exactly.
Yeah, it was almost like it just like happened suddenly over like a year or two.
I think that the paradox of Kodak is fascinating to me because, first of all, they were the ones that invented digital cameras, right? Right.
Yep.
So they invented it.
They had like some guy, like he was just doing this as like a side project and delivered it to them.
No, because we sell film. So they got rid of it. And then they went bankrupt just as people started to take more and more pictures. Like we now take more pictures than we ever have. And that's when they went bankrupt, just as they
didn't quite cross the bridge.
And it's just kind of ironic, obviously, that that's the case, right? If you stick to like, no, I'm just going to do this thing because that's what we're good at.
Well, it's realizing like these things are like, and with Hollywood in particular, like as much as anything, it's like because it's a technologically based industry, like you have to surf with the technological changes or you're doomed. Like that's just the way it is.
I mean, there's a parallel, right? Because we're people talking like Hollywood is hurting, people are losing their jobs. It's like we're watching more TV than we ever have.
Yeah,
we're watching more movies than we ever have.
Right.
We're on our screens looking at content way more than any time that we've ever been. How is it that Hollywood is going bankrupt? It's because they're stuck with this, like, no, we have to sell box office tickets.
The model has to adapt. People have to adapt. It's the only way it works. I was talking with a couple of guys at a party last weekend, and they were just like, I think that, like the need for content is higher. Like the need for movies is more than ever now, like ever, like times 100. And they're like, what are you talking about? Movies are dead. I'm like, you watch them on your phone. You watch them and they're 10 minutes long. You watch them. It's just like this is all we do with our eyeballs all day long.
Yep.
And like when you look at something like YouTube, which is angling to try to turn into Netflix, and you look at Netflix, which is angling to try to turn into all
Warner
of television.
Right.
Yeah, Warner Brothers, exactly. Like this is how we spend our time. And
I am curious. I'm curious because obviously the news has come out recently. We'll get back to your story, so don't worry. Let's remember where we left off.
That's an excellent
Let's
story.
remember where we left off. But I'm curious now that we are on the subject. What do you guys think about like James Cameron's statement that he put out today, urging Warner Brothers not to be sold to Netflix because it would kill the movie theater system?
Oh yeah, I only just heard about this, so please take it away.
I mean, it's essentially that's essentially the point. He's like, he's made a point. It's like he's angling for Paramount to buy them because he thinks Paramount would be better suited towards saving the theater system.
Yeah, well, I think
like
I think it's interesting, and I just want to put a spin on the question. It's just like James Cameron is in a really unique position in his James Cameron-ness, right? For good and for bad. And James Cameron obviously wants movie theaters to exist because that's his own personal business model. Like This is true. But I do think that there is something about that and the value of what movie theaters are that sort of doesn't get discussed because we talk about it like it's, corporations and they do these things and things get downsized and people have like, what is it like, what is it that changed and what do people actually want? Like, do people not want movie theaters? Because I don't think that's true. You have an uptick in younger people going to see re-releases of old movies like crazy.
They're not necessarily seeing Avatar again, right?
So right, yeah, exactly.
Right. So I think what's interesting is that he does seem to be occupying a part of Hollywood that is dying. But that doesn't mean the movie theaters are dying, right?
Yeah, right.
I think that it's interesting is that he seems to be occupied. It's like he made his money by being the top #1 movie of all time over and over and over again, right?
Mhm.
And that's how he is addicted to box office. Let's just put it that way, right? Like that's how he is. It's like he has to make the biggest movie ever so it can make the most money ever, and that's what he gets. I think that's how he gets his high. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, like I'd be high if I made Avatar 1 through 3. I'd be high on that.
Sure. But and that's fine and appreciated, honestly. And obviously very speculative because I don't know Mr. Cameron from anyone, but I do feel like that's not who's going to rule Hollywood anymore, right? The people who rule Hollywood are going to be the Safdie brothers, going to be the Yorgos Lanthimos. Or others, right? They're going to be these other independent, or the Markiplier, right? Or those kind of
the
guys.
Iron Lung,
guys, that's the Hollywood that's going to take over. And I don't think they don't care about those kind of box office numbers. I don't think they do.
I think it's hard to get those kind of box office numbers. I think even because Avatar 3 is like, it's made a shitload of money, but it's following the standard, like lots of sequels curve where it's not going to,
right.
Like if they release another one, it'll start to be sub 1 billion, and they don't want that. So I think that Cameron actually exists in this strange place, which is like there's the Hollywood industry, and he has a Venn diagram overlap into that. Because it's modeled basically right after, like his business is modeled directly after the Hollywood business, but it is separate from the Hollywood business,
Sure.
And so he is of himself a pseudo super indie, and like it's working with an enormous amount of money and all the stuff.
We've gotten flack for calling him an independent director. In the past,
he's in that he has like as much control over his own self-generated material as anyone does. I think that's pretty indie. Like there's a lot of money involved.
Well,
obviously,
I'd say like for sure the first Terminator is an independent film. But
but I mean, even if you had like say pick your, like for instance, like I don't think that the Safdie brothers are indie anymore. Like they are working for the studios. Right.
Yeah.
Like they make things that feel like indie films, and that's why people say
they get hired to do films that
Yeah, like they have an indie flavor they're selling, which is to say it's high quality. It's very good. It has rich characters. Like that's what you associate with indie. And so when I say James Cameron is an indie filmmaker, people are just like, but Avatar's dumb. And I'm just like, he had total control of that soup to nuts. He grew that himself, meaning his company, and maintains control of it and makes the lion's share of the money from it. Like that's an independent business. That's
again, we've been told that he does not necessarily have control over soup to nuts.
But as much as anybody, like the Safdie brothers don't have control over anything they do if they're doing with the studios either. But James Cameron has a lot, right?
They cut out the ending of. They cut out the ending of.
They didn't do the vampire ending. The
vampire ending of Marty Supreme.
Yeah, now that's something Sean knows a lot about, by the way. He is a vampire aficionado. And did you know about the ending of Marty Supreme with the vampires?
I did not.
He was originally going to end. This doesn't spoil the ending if you haven't seen it. It was originally going to end revealing that it was actually all about real vampires, and they didn't do it.
Wow.
Because of studio notes. Wow. I'm just like, this is why you don't listen to studios. It's just a ping pong movie now, but a good one. But in any case, to sum that up, is like James Cameron is a copy, a clone of the industry itself that overlaps with the industry, right? Sure. And so as this industry is falling apart, he's like, oh shit, my entire model is based off of this. At the same time, I do want to say, like, what James Cameron has done with, say, Avatar, if you were to take the budget down by, say, $600 million, is what you should do as an indie filmmaker. Like, I think that he still has a model that works, but it must operate at a budget that works with the amount of money that's available from the people that are paying for it. And that is also what should happen with theaters. Like, theaters people are interested in theaters, but they're not interested in, I'm going to pay $200 for my kids to see another Marvel film. Like, that's not a model that works super well anymore. Like, my son and I, like, we went to go see Interstellar when it got re-released, and the place was fucking packed with people that had not seen Interstellar. So they do want to see movies, but it turns out if they're going to pay for it, they want to see good ones.
Yep.
So my take on this, I will caveat by saying that I work for the major studios, so
Right.
I certainly will not comment on whether the studios are doing something right or not.
Sure.
But there's an interesting thing that I keep feeling like I'm witnessing, but it's sort of just out of reach, and that is the audience change.
Mhm.
And I sort of what my observation has been over the last 10 years or so is that due to streaming shows being seasons of, this is really a peak TV thing too, but it's more around streaming because it's less about network television. But the fact that we were all accustomed when we were younger to watching a story take place in 90 minutes to 2 hours. Introduction of the characters, here's what the conflict is, resolution at the end, roll credits. Right. That was how
They wrote a book called Save the Cat, and everyone followed exactly the same thing.
Yeah, well, it's basically a seat rental business, and it turns out that 2 hours makes the most money.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And yes, exactly. As you said at one point, Dan, which I thought this opened my eyes, was that you said that that movies are the live theater model, and television is the vaudeville model.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Because live theater was basically selling a place for you to go for an hour and a half, and then you needed to leave.
Yeah, get the fuck out. We're reselling the seats. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Whereas vaudeville was not selling you a seat, they were selling you beer and peanuts.
Yes.
So you could go in and sit as long as you wanted. And the money that vaudeville was making was off of the stuff you were consuming. Yes. And that is television.
Yes.
And that blew my mind and sort of allowed me to start thinking about these things in more cyclical ways. But my original point to get back to is that the audience has been trained since Netflix showed up on the scene that a story is now 8 hours long.
Right.
Or 10 hours long. And that means long character arcs.
Right.
That means ensemble character arcs. And that means intricate, a large main plot with intricate subplots that carry out and resolve along the way. And so our brains have rewired to crave that to the point where now when you sit down in front of a movie that is 2 hours long, you feel like it is rushed.
It's abbreviated.
You feel like you don't, exactly. You feel like it's a shorthand for the story that you want. And this obviously does not apply to people who are cinephiles and, obviously people who are just like, no, I will always like.
But it's an entirely, this is a different kind of thing that's being consumed. Like this is a absolutely valid way to be, watching stories.
100%.
Like this is fine.
100%.
But just like you have, say, War and Peace, and you have a 1-page poem, like you need it, like all of these things need their own room to operate in.
Exactly.
And the business models that support them need to make sense.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what it comes down to.
And that's exactly right. And when you look at the length of time that you sit and consume something, obviously the smallest amount is a TikTok video. The largest amount is a 10 episode Game of Thrones season, we'll say.
Right.
There is room for all of that. And there is need for all of that. And there's stories that fit into specific time lengths better than others. And one of the other things that I'm watching the audience change on is the consumption of the digital and the consumption of the short form. And it's interesting to watch sort of the YouTube trends on this sort of thing. For a while there was like, people are only watching things that are 3 to 8 minutes long, period. If you want to make something, put on YouTube, 3 to 8 minutes, that's it. And then YouTube was like, it's actually 20 to 30 minutes. That's where we're at right now, because that's where we sell the most amount of advertising. That seems to be like, and so if you're learning how to do something,
In
like
fact,
that's
they would incentivize you to make your thing over 8 minutes.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
I remember there was a guy, a YouTuber I watched. He basically was like, he would do his thing and it was 5 minutes long, and then he would just sit in front of the camera for 3 minutes just to make sure it was
Just wait for that sweet
yeah,
spot.
it was just like, so they
Right.
can put their ad here or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so we as the audience, our brains are constantly rewiring for what it is that we're consuming. But the interesting thing that I've seen start to happen just within the last year, and I haven't seen any think pieces on this, and I haven't seen anybody write about this yet, but I'm watching the people in my life who are like, YouTube is the most amazing thing in the world, and I love just sitting down. I'll learn about something. I learn about something, is like, it's 10 minutes long, and then I go while I'm sitting eating lunch, or while I'm sitting on the train or something like that, or laying in bed right before I go to sleep, something like that. That lasted, like that love lasted for about a year or two, 3 or 4, for almost everything on YouTube to become that. And when you sit down to watch YouTube, unless I'm watching the wrong stuff, which of course I am, but it's all going to be talking heads, discussing things, or teaching something.
Yep.
And your brain eventually gets tired of that, and it gets starved for something narrative.
Yep. Just like it got tired of watching cat videos. Worked for 10 years. But
exactly.
Let's do something else. Yeah. Right.
It's amazing to watch. And sort of like my double life now is that I also am the partial creator of a toy line of action figures. So I'm kind of have one foot in that world now, and we're watching this interesting thing happen over there, where for the longest time the advice was only make action figures from licensed intellectual property.
Right.
Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Teenage Mutant Ninja
things that are
whatever,
pre-sold, essentially.
G.I. Joe, Transformers, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And because somebody was more apt to buy the 18th version of a Batman figure than they were to buy some figure that they'd never heard of before from some action figure line that they had no idea about. But that trend is now observably changing, where the collectors are to the point where they're like, I think 18 Batmans is enough. Like,
we didn't think it would happen.
Exactly.
On 17, we're like, this is going to go on forever. The 18th Batman's like, oh no.
Yeah, I'm watching XYZ company come out with the 19th Batman, and I'm like, I mean, it's cool, but like, I've already...
You can see the collector going, do I really need an 18th Batman?
Exactly. And
so I really need another Marvel film.
I don't know. Maybe I'll fill it.
That I will always want.
Yes,
there it is. That is definitely
absolutely.
And that's the only thing I'll say about like why I love the Marvel movies so much. It's a television show.
I was going to actually say this very episodic.
It is currently sitting at like a 34-hour story.
Yeah, spectacular.
Or a 200-hour story if you want to throw in all the television shows.
Hey man, I'll be honest. Like, I mean, there's plenty of Marvel that I pick on because they definitely started getting sloppy. But the great Marvel is great. And with the last one, what was that? It was what's the name of the thing? Thunderbolts. Like, they got me back. I was like, oh, that was okay. Yeah. So you can actually, for me, restart that engine anytime as long as you give me something that's cool and fun. Like, I have an infinite appetite for cool and fun, And I think that's like, it's keeping that energy alive that makes the money. That's what makes you money, Yeah. And I feel like go ahead. I'm sorry. I mean, I was
just going to say the other anecdote that I was going to throw out there is something that, for several years there, it seemed like everybody was chasing like how do we get the kids? Yeah. The kids are all watching 10-second videos on TikTok. Obviously, we have to come up with Quibi. That seems to make the most amount of sense. We're telling stories in little 1-minute segments or something like that.
I'm sorry, they got it wrong. No, they didn't.
They certainly arrived at the wrong time. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a TikTok. It wasn't a 10 seconds. It was getting them because, as Dan has said, I mean, they'll also play 800 hours of Skyrim, right? Like,
yeah,
so
the kids, yeah.
It's not. Don't say that they have a low attention span. That's not the case.
100%. And
Right.
I was buying into that for a long time until a friend of mine had a kid.
Right.
And I asked the kid, like, what do you like to watch? And he was like, oh man, I love watching, like, YouTube videos of somebody playing Roblox, or YouTube videos of somebody playing Fortnite, like 5 to 6 minutes, like maybe a 10-minute video, something like that. I love watching that. And all 18 seasons of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
So like it's not like the brain is just this monolith that is like, I only crave this one thing.
And I've got
Sorry,
other
all
kids
our brains are smooth now. So
I've got other kids out there that are saying, it's like, oh, I know, I've just discovered this guy named François Truffaut. He does these incredible films.
Yep.
Like, I was like, and these are like 16-year-old kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
Right?
this, like I have like the idea that people should like, I think that it was understandable for the longest time when like, generations would, grow up and then the younger generation would come along and be like, I don't understand those kids anymore. Right. But the turnover is so high and everything's so nichey now. Right. That when people are like, these kids have no attention span, I'm like, but they play the same fucking video games you do. And you put in 800 hours into Baldur's Gate 3, and like they're doing the same thing. Like don't convince yourself of some weird story. Like find out what it is that they are being satisfied by.
I think it's because it's hard to quantify those things. It's easy to say TikTok.
Yeah, sure.
What they need is 15 seconds of video. Like that's not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those idiots just watch TikTok.
We're almost at an hour, so I want to make sure we still get to your story.
Nobody is still listening to this.
Who
is this guy? I don't know.
Listen, we still, based on the YouTube algorithms, we still have about 35% of the audience still is.
Yeah, we're hanging in there.
Great.
Yeah, we haven't even brought the fact that you worked on the last 2 awesome Predator franchise pictures, which are incredible. So there's so much to drop.
Hold on. There's a couple steps missing there. Cinesight, everything's going away, going to digital. So did you move to digital and then eventually you ended up at Third Floor? But I want to let's fast track that. And
we'll fast track that.
Okay.
So after I got the advice of like, don't try to be a professional tape op, that job is not going to exist in a couple of years. Somebody from Cinesight went to NAB, saw a nonlinear editing setup that was not Avid, that was a lot cheaper than Avid. It was something that Discrete Logic had bought called Edit.
Yeah.
And he just used the company credit card to buy a system. And it just showed up one day at the studio, and people were like, what the hell is this? And he was like, this is a nonlinear editing system that has a really great keyer in it that allows for very quick keying of elements within the timeline. So we're a visual effects company. We can totally use this. And so they were like, great. How does it work? No idea. Nobody knows. We hired a teacher to come in and teach a 2-day class. Five people. And they were like, well, who should learn how to do this? The head of editorial, who does, reel to reel, like razor blade cutting of film. 2 other editors who do that. Our Avid editor at the time, who was not going to be using it at all. And they were like, at some point, like somebody's going to have to pop a tape in a deck. Let's have Sean come over and take this class.
Well, I bought a magic box for a wizard on the side of the road, and then the wizard died. We need to figure this out immediately.
Yeah, exactly. And so I sat in this 2-hour class and we got done with it. And the other 4 guys were like, great, I can't wait to forget all about that. And they just left and walked away.
Oh man.
And the setup sat in this room, and all I was doing was just duplicating tapes. So I would just spend my free time. I would go in, sit down. A friend of mine came in and was like, I want you to edit together every scene from Blade where Steven Dorff has his shirt off.
Isn't that Blade?
I was like, exactly. So I was like, great assignment. And so like at a certain point, I think it was like a month or 2 later, finance called over and they're like, what the fuck is this thing that we bought for like however many tens of thousands of dollars?
Right.
It needs to start working on shows right now so that we can start recouping that cost.
Right.
And they were like, okay, we have to put this on a show. Who can run it? Oh, everybody's working. No one knows how to use it except for Sean. Congratulations, Sean, you're an editor now.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that was the beginning of me as an editor. Cinesight went out of business a couple of years later as Kodak was going on its downward spiral. I went to work at a place called Digiscope, which was 10 years at a little visual effects company where I met Dave and Andy and some other folks who wound up in the Tuesday night group.
Yep.
That's where I got involved in the Tuesday night group. Eventually, Digiscope closed their doors. And then I was like, well, okay, so I'm a vendor-side visual effects editor who loves this business and loves what I do for a living, but it might be interesting to work in Previz. Sounds like that would be pretty cool. And so I just applied at Third Floor. They had a job posting for an assistant editor, and I was like, well, it's kind of a cool place to work. I mean, I would probably do assistant work for that for a little while. And the HR person called me back and they were like, we're looking at your resume and like, you look like you're an actual editor. I was like, well, I am, but like you were only posting for an assistant.
Do you want a copy of Blade with just the shirt off? Because we got that totally. Got like a stack of 10 of these things.
Yeah, exactly. So she was like, we need to hire an editor for a couple weeks. So if you're interested in that, and I was like, absolutely. So I came in and I sat there for 2 or 3 weeks and finished working on Max Payne.
Yeah.
And then, Max Steel. I get the Maxes confused. It was Max Steel.
Yeah.
And, and then I was like, okay, so should I just go or what? And they were like, well, there's actually another show that we need an editor for. And so that just kind of kept happening. And the next thing I knew, I was promoted to the head of the editorial department. And that's kind of where I've been.
How long have you
Rewired
been at Third Floor?
I just celebrated my 12th anniversary last week.
Yeah, it's an amazing place. They do incredible work.
That's as long as it's been a chaos. So there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird, right? Being at a place for longer than you were at a place in college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like 3 times longer than anybody. Yeah, exactly. Like what other people refer to as the best time of their life, which is like 3.5 years. You're like, I have done this 4 times over. Yeah. Super weird. Super weird.
Yeah, exactly.
No, my time at Chaos has actually been interesting over years. It's actually transforming, which is very good. But yeah, it is weird being in a place for 12 years. Really weird.
And it's a wonderful thing to be at a place for that long, as I'm sure you've experienced, to be able to watch. I mean, you're lucky if a company is able to adapt to the changing marketplace in order to stay solvent that long.
Yeah.
And having watched, several companies that I was at dissolve away because of market changes or just changes to movie making in general, like it's cool to watch it really work.
Yeah.
Right.
And to watch people move nimbly to keep themselves relevant.
Well, yeah, because this is the thing. Like this kind of came up last time we were talking. Is it's interesting to me that the so many people in Hollywood are just sort of struggling, not just financially but mentally, with making career shifts and like all this kind of stuff. And I'm I have absolute empathy for it, and I've been partially through it. Like the last thing I did any VFX on was Dune 2, so it's like that's not really a part of my life anymore. And at the same time, I'm like, the nature of making a movie is adapting to the changes that are happening all day long, like just on the shooting day. The movie changes radically, like any movie you're making, from the moment you decide to make it, whether you're studio or whether you're indie or whatever. It's like from the moment you decide to make it, it is not going to be the movie you started with ever. Like the movie that you put out at the end is part of the lineage of the development of that idea. But you've had to shift and change. Like you're in the middle of the shoot, and you know as well as anybody, you're just like, well, that guy didn't show up, so now we got to do something else.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and like so the story of Hollywood is, well, that guy didn't show up, or the catering didn't show up, or like that AI is changing everything, or the VFX are not like this, you know, and just like this is what you have to kind of do. And I think that especially from your perspective in a house like Third Floor, where you're seeing soup to nuts the entire how a film story has to shift in order to keep itself sharp over the course of these things. I feel like that has been like many people don't have the realization. You and I've talked about this before. Of just like, you know, the control that you like when you get to the end of a movie and you realize the movie isn't working. You know, what are our options now? Like, because it has to work. You know.
Yeah, and it was definitely a wonderful mental shift to suddenly be in the room where the creative decisions were being made. And not, you know, not always being somebody who has a voice in that room, but like being in the room and listening to those voices make those decisions.
Yeah, explain to us what it's like to be an editor in Previz, as opposed to a regular editor or a post-production editor, which is very, very different.
Right. It's an excellent question. The best way that I've found to describe it is, it's like somebody comes to you and says, we want you to work on the biggest movies and TV that are going to be coming out this year, but we only want you to edit the fun parts.
Right.
And that's kind of what it is.
Right.
So it's whereas, you know, whereas a previs tends to come onto a project when it's being done in the traditional way. Previs gets hired at right about the time that the movie gets greenlit.
Right.
Sometimes we get hired beforehand in order to create something called pitch viz, which is basically take a scene from the movie, make it in Previz and make it look really good, sound really good. And then we use that as a tool to go back to the studio and say, this is what you are going to be buying if you decide to greenlight the movie. But then once they say greenlight, Previz immediately starts working with the director, the producers. Sometimes there's a screenwriter in there, and just generating like, okay, so in the script, it says dialogue, and then a line that says big fight happens here, and then dialogue. And our job is to figure out what is that 5-minute big fight that happens here. And on top of that, it's not just like make some cool stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's how do we continue telling the story through this big visual effects action scene? Because, I mean, I don't need to tell you guys, like, you've seen plenty of movies where you sit down and, like, the big action scene starts up and you just sit there patiently waiting for it to be over. It's super boring because there's nothing, it's so clearly, like, it's a checkbox on a list. Like,
there is
here's
action.
where the power chase has to happen with an F-16 flying overhead. And, like, you get to the end of that scene and none of the characters have changed. The plot has not changed. It was just
if you can take the scene out and nobody notices.
Exactly.
There it is. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So we are, you know, we help to iterate on ideas on how to make that big action scene be part of the larger story. And because Previz, you know, moves extremely fast, I, as the editor, sit there and with a catcher's mitt, I'm sort of like catching shots that the animators are creating every day. And it's roughly it's sort of like getting into way too much inside baseball, but what the hell?
This is the Inside Baseball pod. It's all good.
Exactly. Yeah. Generally, sort of what the average throughput is about 2 shots per artist per day. And so if you are working on a show that has 5 artists, you're looking at 10 different shots coming in. If you're working on a show that has 30 artists, you're looking at 60 shots coming at you. So I grab all of those shots and line them all up, make adjustments, make suggestions in a lot of cases. Like there's Scarlett Johansson is going to be the main actress in this. they're paying a lot of money for her. We should really have a close-up on her here so that she can act.
Right.
And have a facial expression based on having just, landed on the edge of the cliff and pulled herself up and she survived, or like dove out of the way of the missile hitting her, whatever it is. All the way to like, when we put these two shots together, it looks kind of jump cutty. Is there a way for one of the cameras to be, over more off to the side so we can get a slightly different angle? And the amazing thing about Previz is that somebody's like, yep, you'll have it by the end of the day.
Yeah, you will see this today. You will see this today and figure out whether it actually works. And if it works, we're psyched. Yeah.
Whereas if you are a picture editor, you're like, yeah, we just don't have it.
Yeah, they better come up with something else, guys. Yeah, because we don't have the money to reshoot, and here we are. Yeah,
because you're working with actual photography in dailies.
Yeah.
And so I cut all that together and I put sound effects and music under it, and then kick out version after version after version that the filmmakers look at, and eventually they say, "Yep, this looks good. Stop work on it," or "Yep, we're out of money. Stop working on it."
Yep.
And then that gets handed off to all the departments on the movie, and they can look at it and be like, okay, now I see what we're going to go do. We can budget for it. We can schedule for it, like all the things. So in that particular way, it is different from my previous life of visual effects editorial, which was the movie's already been shot. The cutting room is editing it. I'm just receiving an edit, and I'm just making sure that all the plates that we've been delivered that we're doing something to are the right length.
Yeah.
If there are speed changes that somebody has missed, I got to report all that. I got to work up
it's way more technical, less creative, and
it's almost janitorial in a way.
Right.
It's doing math and chasing down frame numbers and stuff like that. Right. Whereas Previz editorial is nothing's been shot yet.
Yeah.
So
you're solving the problem of the movie. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And so like I think this is what's fascinating is your movies like the movies that you have written and directed, Lucy X Mina, I can see in the background right there, which is terrific.
Yes. Lucy X Mina.
They are you're working with shoestring budgets, right? And you are having to work pretty quickly, right? But you are making creative decisions that it's just like we were saying with the washing machine and Dave and Mike. It's just like you're making creative decisions that are the right decisions, as opposed to what can we wow people with monetarily or visual effects wise? And that's what makes this stuff work. And so like when you're building things, the Previz is going to be very limited. It's going to be simpler 3D animations or grayscale stuff or whatever the hell you're putting together. Right. But the movie has to work. And this is where you see this is where you're making the movie. Everything else is the final execution. Like the living creative part is where you are living, right? And it seems like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, like what you teach in Comic-Con is to be in that space, only end up with a final product.
100%. Yeah. And to the point where, when I became the head of editorial at the third floor, I became in charge of hiring editors. As we needed freelancers to come in, as we needed to hire junior editors who, with the intention of they will eventually move up to become Previz editors. The stuff that I look at, whereas beforehand it was like, well, does the person know how to use Avid? Yes, great, you are hired.
Yep.
But now in Previz it's different because you're looking for somebody who does know how to edit, who has edited something narrative before, has had to take dailies and put them together into a scene and make you feel something from it. But it's also, I'm also looking for people who have experience shooting their own stuff.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that we have to do is we have to take into consideration solving story problems and solving problems that are due to a lack of money to be spent.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if your movie is $3 million or $200 million.
It's never enough money.
You're still working with a budget.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're still restrained by your budget.
That's that.
And so the people that I hire as editors, I like to have shot their own short films so that they have that muscle. And it's a bonus if they also have some experience in visual effects, because that's a very big part.
They know how they're going to pull off a shot.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you understand how green screens are utilized on a set, you have a better idea for what to request for shot coverage.
Yep.
If you understand that if this character that's in screen, this actor standing on the set, is suddenly going to get kicked by a monster and go flying backwards into a wall that explodes, that's a handoff from an actual actor to a digital double, which is a very expensive thing to do.
Right.
So you need to know that that's not the shot to request.
And this is the magic trick training of it all. Like this is being a magician.
That's very good.
You know?
That's very good, Dan. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the whole thing.
Absolutely.
You're doing this for the audience. You're not doing this to have some weird simulation that is completely realistic. You're just like, it has to work from that angle. It has to make them feel like this. And we need to do the handoff where it's like, whether you're like, okay, here's where the coin goes behind the hand and the audience is still looking over here. It's like, this is where Hugh Jackman gets kicked off screen, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's the same mindset. Right. And I feel like it's like that we're in a stressful moment, obviously, right now, but what you're talking about and what you teach is the falling in love of the storytelling and the on the fly thinking it takes to tell that story and solve those problems as they come at you. Right.
That's a very good way of putting it. Yeah.
And I feel like that. And so when it's like when you were talking about like, when we were talking about like parenting and like whether like parents want you to like, have a fallback position and all this stuff. Like, I really feel now, like after raising kids, like the best thing you could actually say, best career advice for anybody, whether it's kids or not kids, is just like, you'll figure it out. You will figure this out. If you set your mind to figuring this out, you will do that. If it's something you don't want to do, you will stop doing it. But if it's something that you want to do, then you will figure it out. And I feel like that is the everyday of film production. And certainly from the stuff that I've seen you make, from the small scale to the large scale, it's the way that you think, and it's why you make great stuff. Like,
thank you.
That's like everything that, like I can't tell people how many pages I've read from this man or how many things I've seen. God. Yeah, it's amazing. And they're constantly over nearly 2 decades, as fresh as anything that I've ever experienced. And it's because you, to me, are always living in that creative moment of figuring that shit out as it goes.
How is it all going to change, though, Sean? I mean, like, it's got to be changing at this point. People are reimagining how Previz is done a lot, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure. And I mean, if you can believe it, we talk about this all the time at work.
No.
Wait.
Because it is relevant.
Right.
So, it's been real interesting sort of watching this progression, because, like, what was it, 3 years ago when, like, I think ChatGPT first started creating like cat videos?
It's like, it is mind blowing. This is only 3 years. Like, when I think back,
crazy.
It's the stuff that I saw from like Seed Dance 2 or whatever they're going to put up next year. Just like, wait, am I in an Isaac Asimov novel? What happened? Suddenly.
Yeah. So in watching that happen, I watched a handful of people that I work with. Obviously, in Previz, you're working with a lot of really creative people.
Yep.
A lot of people. You're basically working with. I mean, one thing that I recognized about Third Floor within like a week of being there was like, oh, this is just an incubator for directors.
Yeah.
Like, every single Previz supervisor in here understands camera. They understand lensing. They understand continuity of action. They understand all the entire panoply of filmmaking craft in order to be able to create these sequences that can then be handed off to the people who are going to physically do it. And so those are just the kinds of people that, like, half of them are, have their sketchbooks out at lunch and stuff like that. And so a couple of folks as soon as ChatGPT first hit, they dove in.
Yeah.
They're like, this is weird and cool,
Yep.
and there's something that I have always wanted to do, and maybe this will do it.
Mhm.
And that has since evolved over the last couple of years to being a lot more folks as the technology becomes a little more ubiquitous.
Yep.
Still, kind of cutting edge and whatnot.
Right.
But so I've been watching people use it for their own personal projects outside of work.
Right.
Shoot, making like like music videos or shorts or any of that kind of thing using AI. And watching them cobble together like 12 different tools.
Yeah, right.
In order to kind of replicate the same process by which we do things at work.
See what you can make work. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And as one of my friends put it, he was like, yeah, I made this entire music video with AI. It took exactly the same amount of time that it took had I just gone out and shot
it all. Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
With a crew and actors.
Right.
But the difference being that making it with AI means that it felt like my crew was drunk all the
time. Which has its advantages. That sounds fun. Can't lie. But yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, like on the one hand, and obviously I'm not the guy who develops the tools that we use. I'm not the guy who goes out and gives talks at SIGGRAPH or anything like that, or goes out and finds us work or anything. So grain of salt on this. But my sense is that we're currently in the stage where AI is the buzzword.
Sure.
People who have a lot of money are like, I like that buzzword.
Yeah.
And I like what it's
that
doing.
That gets me people investing. They love when I say that word, they give me money. Right.
I would love a company that says this buzzword when they talk to me.
Right.
And so there are folks at other previous companies who are like, we use AI.
Right.
And it's like, great, let's go. No, I don't think there's any explanation of like how or why. Like that's a wide.
Well, yeah, I mean, like these things
for almost anything,
right? I mean, like the thing is,
well, it's like in 2000 when people say, "I have a website." Oh, okay, let's do.
Oh, he has a website.
Exactly.
Look at that. He must be very legitimate. Yeah, because the thing is that the pressure being, how can I say this? The pressure being put on these tools, if they're going to solve any problems, which i.e. mean if they're going to bring costs down. Which is the only thing that people in production actually care about regarding these tools. That's it. If they're going to bring costs down, they have to bring the level of control up. I can't use Photoshop 100%. If it sort of paints what I want it to do. That isn't useful to me. I have a job to do, and that's what it is. So in that there's pressure being put on the tools to change into that. I have faith that these will eventually be the root of tools that are extremely useful to people in the industry, but those people will have to be good at their job. They will have to have taste. They will have to know how to get the things out of the machine the way we want them, because there are specific things that you want to be able to do. You can't just leave to chance and have a functioning production.
Right.
I think that there's ways to look at, for instance, we were talking about, AI is sort of using, stock, making a movie out of stock footage, I don't know, this is what we got. Now, in one hand, that's a really interesting challenge as a filmmaker. And there are filmmakers who have done this. And so one of the things I say is why not look at AI as here's a weird footage generator. What can I see in this and construct something from myself out of it? I can imagine this being you can, there's all sorts of collage film that works like this, or if you're making a documentary, that's what you're doing. You have no control over what you're filming at all. You don't even know half the footage you didn't even shoot. So think of it that way. You can make great art and make great film this way. But if you're in terms of production, the pressure on the tool is to be accurate, and it's accurate so you can bring production costs down. And in that case, you have to trust the use of this tool to someone who knows how to use the tool, and that person is going to be an artist with taste. That's it.
That is exactly what I'm witnessing.
Right.
So the, right now the tool is you can type in hey, I really want you to give me 3 shots of this person doing this thing. I want it to be a close-up, and then I want it to be a tracking shot of what, and then I want a shot that pushes in on the person's face as they have this expression.
Yeah.
And you will get who the fuck
Who
knows
knows?
what.
Who knows? Yeah.
And that's where it's at right now. But those tools that allow you to dial that stuff in will be developed. They will be developed to be, what lens do you want?
Yeah.
What rig do you want this to be on? What is the distance that you're traveling? What is the environment that you're in? Like all the tools that we are currently using with Maya or Unreal or, whatever, that's all going to be developed using the same language.
Yes.
Because that's the language of movie making that already exists.
Yes, that's how we make movies.
Exactly.
That's how we make movies.
So because of that, you're right. It is still going to be reliant on a human being who has an emotional experience and the education in the craftsmanship of storytelling to be able to utilize those tools to make something cool.
The front end of the tools will be much easier for people to initially understand. But I'll tell you, like, for instance, here's my experience. Like, the most easy tool to understand is another person, right? Because you speak English or whatever you want to another person, they understand you, and you can go back and forth with them and figure something out, right?
You calling me a tool?
I think we're all tools in a very real sense. And so when you're say like, people who want to complain about AI are just like, oh, well, it's just, like you have no control over. Okay, I don't have any control over an actor. I don't. It's their own. They are their own person. In fact, I'm hiring them because they do something that I don't do. Like that is the whole goal. In fact, I'm hiring the best ones because they're going to solve this problem in a way that I didn't think of. Having that variability is actually huge. Now, when you're directing Daniel Day-Lewis, I've never done this, obviously, but I assume if you're working with Daniel Day-Lewis, you're talking with him about what you think you want, right? Daniel Day-Lewis is an artist unto himself, and you have no control over it. He's generating stuff in the ballpark of what you want. How you communicate with him is how you refine that. And then you film a lot of it, and then you take all that footage and you refine it further in the edit. And then when you have the edit, you're like, well, it almost works, but now we have to bring him back in to dub stuff. Right? Yeah. Like, you never stop making the movie until you think it's done or it's taken away from you. Like, that's pretty much it. And so for anyone who is terrified of the ambiguity and the randomness and blah, 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 would go direct some actors for a while and you will see that I agree with you. That could be a hassle. Like, oh shit, then the first 40 takes with Brad didn't work out the way I wanted. But the responsibility is still on me and the creative team to make the movie. Yeah. Like, it isn't, I can't say like, well, it's, it's Brad sucked, so I can't really do anything. Like, it's your job to make it unsuck. Make the movie.
Yeah. Let me ask you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sean.
No, I mean, the sort of the easiest way that I've been able to sort of encapsulate all this is sort of what's going on in the indie publishing space right now with people who are typing a prompt into Claude and getting a novel in about 10 minutes.
Does the novel make any sense? Is it any good?
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah. It's like, if you just open it up to any random page, you're like, oh, it sounds like the person wrote it. But if you read the whole thing, you're like,
what?
Well, what happened? Like, there's no feeling in here. Like, I've done, like, none of the characters have any character continuity. Like, things are happening per page in an order that happens in most novels.
Yeah, it's like if you ask a little kid to tell you the story of Star Wars.
It kind of sounds like when someone did Anaconda, they did that.
Yeah, see, exactly. If I asked my nephew to tell me what happens in Star Wars, that's exactly how it was like. And then Luke went up to the bed and he jumped off the thing and the lasers came out of the face and then he jumped in and Jabba was there. And I'm like, this is not as compelling as it was in the theater. I don't know why.
Yeah. And so like you like the easy lesson to draw from that is like AI is a copying. It that's what it does, is it looks at everything that came before and it makes a version of that.
Yeah.
And so it's very it's very easy to get something that seems like what you're used to, but who wants to just have the same thing that you're used to all the time?
Well,
Like,
that's
I
the
don't-
problem, is that the studios think you do,
Yeah, this is
right? The studios think that you keep wanting to see more sequels. The studio thinks that you want to see a remake of Ghostbusters.
Right.
The studio thinks you want to do
it's
that's
like
what they
people,
think original thought is
Right.
too risky.
I think beyond the studios, like everybody is assuming, and people, including people anti-AI, everybody is assuming that audiences are stupid and they have no taste. Like people that are super anti-AI. They're just like, slop is just going to consume the world. I'm like, just for a moment, imagine that other people also don't like things. They have the ability to tell whether what they are consuming is something they want to consume, right? And if it's all bad, they won't watch it. Now, we also have to admit that we do like eating some garbage. We like Doritos a lot, right? I love it.
Oh my God.
Love Is Blind.
Yep.
I'll watch every season. Give it to me. It's
Oh,
fantastic.
that's the big example right there.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's a, I would go into Trader Joe's and I'd be wearing like some swag from one of the movies that I worked
Sure.
on, and like one of the kids working the checkout would be like, "Oh my God," and we would talk about the movie,
Right.
and like after a year or two of having conversations about movies, I would see them and be like, "What have you watched lately?" And recently, like within the last 2 years, they're like, "Oh my God, I can't. All I can watch is Housewives."
Yeah, I'm too
It's like,
stressed
I
out.
just need-
At the end of the day,
I just need Bachelor, or
Yeah.
I need Bachelor in Paradise.
Yeah.
Like I can't devote any cycles to. Like the world has been extremely fucking stressful over
dude,
the last.
just having a regular job.
years.
We say this all the time in the pod. I'm just like, you're not going to get home after working all day. You're tired and you settle down and you're like, Schindler's List, let's do it.
Oh yeah,
it's just not coming up.
Exactly.
You know,
And as Christopher Stack regularly said, he's like, I don't know why when I sit down on my couch at night and I ask, should we watch a movie?
Mhm.
I'm always like, I don't have 2 hours to sit and watch a movie.
right.
And then I will turn on television and I will watch 3 hours
Mhm.
of something, like 3
Or
episodes.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, dude.
Exactly.
I will spend 3 hours flipping through Netflix's queue of no, making jokes about it. No. That's an entertaining evening with me and Ann. But I'm like, this is the thing,
Yeah.
dude. It's just like if you like with an absolutely neutral view. Say you like write me a vampire novel and it gives you a vampire novel. Your first responsibility when you read it is to ask yourself, does this stink? If it stinks, then you have more work to do as a writer, right?
Yep.
And if it comes out and it's absolutely flawless, right? And you're just like, oh my God, this is one of the best things I've ever read, just randomly. It just happened to make this. Be proud of the fact that you were able to see that, because most people that are in that position don't. Like, it randomly generated whatever, I will say. Like, it randomly made the movie Chinatown. It just randomly did it. And if you gave Chinatown to any producer in Hollywood and they're just like, hit the red button, Chinatown shows up, they're like, boring, hits the red button again. Like, it is your taste that spotted that this was genius at minimum.
Yeah.
And the fact is, like, that probably won't happen. So in between those two poles, total trash or absolute perfection, is you doing the work to make a thing that people will respond to because you are responding to it, not because a machine said so, and not because anything. You are the you're the one who is the representative of the audience, and your job is to feel things or not feel them and tune it according to that. So when you hand it off to them, they go, "I loved it." That's it. Machine cannot do that. You can do that.
Right.
Well, I want to ask you guys one last question before we go, because we're already way long, but one last question. And essentially this is interesting. Had a conversation recently. We were a bunch of old VFX guys sitting around talking. And one of the people that was with us happened to be a high school counselor for people trying to go to college, et cetera. And he says, well, there are kids out there that are interested in this kind of stuff. Like, what should I tell them as advice in terms of where they need to go after high school to learn how to do this stuff? And that, at this moment in time, that's a hard question to answer, right? Do you go to a school to learn how to use Maya and rendering and all this other stuff? Do you what do you do right now? And so it's do you go to film school? Do you do this? Do you study something completely different and just learn whatever you need to learn on YouTube? But there's got to be some kind of a rigor, some kind of a something that allows you to, I hate to say it, have something you can fall back on, because you don't know if learning Maya right now is useful.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I think I'm probably not alone here. You guys probably have this thing happen to you as well, where somebody from your previous life calls you up and is like, "Hey, my son's friend wants to get into the movie business.
All
Do you
the
mind
time.
just having a
But
conversation?"
this was like, what does a high school counselor say?
Yeah, and what I have found myself telling kids is that I still recommend going to film school. And there's a reason why, because I've had numerous people throughout my life tell me film school is a waste of time. It's a waste of money, it's a waste of time. And many of those people I have worked with over the last 30 years who are like, I didn't go to film school. Look at me. I'm working in the movie business. I am, compositing shots on, whatever this movie is. It's like, yeah, absolutely. There are two ways for you to learn. Well, I guess there are three ways for you to learn whatever it is you need to learn in order to get into this business. One is you sit there and you just watch YouTube and you learn as much as you possibly can through the videos that other people are making. And that's legitimate and new. That's something that didn't exist before. But that can only take you so far before you have to get into a real world situation where the target is in motion. And you have to start doing things with a deadline, with the tools that you've got. You have to make things happen. You need to solve problems. That does happen. You do learn that stuff in the workplace. So I easily, half of my education or more has happened at every job that I've had. I have learned things. I'm still learning things. I'm still taking little lessons away from every meeting that I'm in. So that is the practical, real world, in the trenches battlefield experience.
So why is film school still relevant then?
And that's the key, is that film school. So work is the place where you go to become a craftsman, or work is the place where you go to become a grunt or a worker, a part of the machine. Film school is where you go to learn how to be an artist, to learn how to make something yourself, for you to lead the project and to find out who you are as an artist. So you can walk out of film school with a 4-year degree, and some dude who has never gone to film school before will get hired to be a PA over you. And that's just the reality. But you didn't go to film school to learn how to be a PA. You went to film school to learn how to tell a story, how to compose a shot, how to convey meaning, how to put together an edit, how to explain what it is that you want to be on the screen using a language that the other people standing around you understand, by referencing movies from the past that have done the thing that you're kind of looking for, that you all have as a shared experience. And it puts you in an environment that is safe. You can throw yourself against the walls. You learn how to work with people. You generate a group of friends who you all have common experiences with.
Absolutely.
All
They all have the same interests as you, and it really keeps it in your mind all the time.
Exactly. And though that is an experience that you don't get anywhere else. You can kind of get it in the real world by putting together a group of friends to just go and shoot something. That is a legitimate experience, but that happens, the restraints on you in terms of time, accessibility, coordination, resources, those things are working against you when you're just going out into the world to shoot something. But in film school, all that stuff is provided for you to start experimenting with. And when you walk out the door after 4 years or 2 years or whatever the program is, you have broken a lot of eggs, you've made a lot of mistakes, and you have some knowledge of what direction you want to move in. You've got some tools that have been built for an artist and not for a blue collar worker, like, you know, so many positions we have had in the visual effects industry.
It reminds you to be an artist every day. Like I think that is the best argument I've ever heard for film school. It's just like whether it gives you any particular technical skills or anything like this, whether it introduces you to the right people, it just, you wake up every day reminding yourself that your responsibility is to being an artist. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And
it's the same with architecture school in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the architecture school. Some architecture schools are design architecture schools, or architecture schools that focus on design, and that allows you to be an artist. And then there's other ones that like, you need to learn how electrical box works. I was like,
yeah, I guess so. Sure. Or these lenses, or this AI, or whatever the fuck it is. Like
I went to architecture school, and so that's my bias. So that's what I know. And honestly speaking, it's the same thing. What I think school is good for is to teach you how to learn.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're the one who's doing it. Like the school isn't learning for you, right? The school is the AI.
These are all the skills. The skills that I used in school are useless, right? And I was still inking drawings back then. I know that wasn't useless. Right. But what was more important was like the rigor and the discipline, and especially in architecture school, how to take criticism.
Yeah, get your shit straight.
Oh yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, those are lessons that you probably carry into every client meeting that you walk into.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting how do I stuff. Absolutely.
How do I give a note to, or how do I address
how do I give something that's useful for someone to use?
Exactly. How do I make a suggestion in a way that is not going to make this person feel like I'm challenging them?
Yeah.
How am I going to suggest something that is not going to make this person feel like you're way out of your lane here?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was very funny. I had this argument with our, and I can share the story with our good friend Eric Barba, who Daniel and I have both worked with, and he went to Art Center, right? And so in Art Center he was trying to tell me, he was giving me a lecture, really was what he was doing. But what he was doing, he's like, in Art Center, we have this block of wood, and you have to learn to polish and polish and polish and polish and polish this block of wood until it's perfect, right? And the whole thing is about crafting, right? And I was like, I went to Arc, and he was like trying to give me his lecture. And I was like, got the lesson. Thanks. I'll go back to my desk and I'll craft. And I said, I went to architecture school. I learned a different lesson. And he was like, what? And I was like, yes, I learned that if it's not working, throw it the fuck away and start over again. Nothing is sacred. Nothing is sacred. And that was the big lesson in architecture school. You should be able to take your drawing and tear it off and start over again. And that was, and he's like, and I said, it's a very different lesson, but anyway.
But it is the discipline to be able to do that. And I think that there are very few people in the world that I've met that are like as disciplined as this dude here. You wouldn't believe. I'm honored to know you, Sean. I'm so psyched that you're on today. And we thank you hugely for being part of this, because it's always like my energy is always, I mean, I'm a high energy guy. It's twice as much after I talk to you, and I'm feeling excited and blessed.
That's excellent.
I appreciate it.
It was the same. It was the same for me. Thank you guys very much for having me on. Thank you to everybody, the 35% of you who stayed for this.
Oh, right on, man. Right to the end. Ride or die. Ride or die.
Right.
That's our
part. That's great. Like and subscribe. Please comment below.
Oh, and actually, very seriously, can you tell us where can people go to see your stuff and what you're working on now? I think we should add that.
Yes. So I've spent an hour and 40 minutes. I've not plugged my YouTube channel.
Plug it.
Yeah.
So I have a YouTube channel called The Vampire's Castle.
Yes.
Which is the best way to get a hold of me and see my stuff. And it is a channel that is all about the vampire genre and mostly about storytelling in the vampire genre. So there's a whole lot of videos about like, hey, you're making your vampire story? think about these things. These are the things other people have done. Where is your story going to, like, how is your story going to go?
You've got to be excited about the fact that a vampire movie is nominated for the most amount of Oscars.
It's pretty. It's
man.
insane. Yeah. It's insane. What a breakthrough.
Us vampire fans have eaten well this last year.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Between Nosferatu and Sinners, we have eaten
it's
well.
pretty good.
And I love the fact that 2 years in a row a vampire movie is up for Oscars.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
Crazy.
It's pretty rad. And secretly, Marty Supreme also. Just saying. It's not just ping pong. There's a little bit of that in there. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Sinners deserves everything that it's up for. It was a generational film.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's where you can find me. Please come by. There also, I do interviews with vampire writers, vampire artists. My last episode that I put up was an interview with Jason Patrick from The Lost Boys,
man.
Which he has evidently never done interviews about The Lost Boys. I was lucky enough that he sat down with me and talked to me for like an hour and a half.
That is
so
amazing.
Stories I have never heard about
amazing.
The Lost Boys.
Yes,
amazing.
So please come by and check it out.
Highly recommend it, and especially I got a lot out of the Make Your Vampire movie series, which I was a big fan of.
Awesome.
Excellent. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And then, of course, if people go to Comic-Con, they can take your class.
Yes.
And please come to Comic-Con and take my class. Yeah.
And also make sure that you get into a fight with Ben Hansford over AI on the panel. That's what we really need to do. Film it, put it up.
You're just trying to take jabs away from people.
That's it, man. It's feisty. All right, brother. Thank you so much for being here today. It's a pleasure to see you. And please come back. This has been amazing.
Always good to see you, Dan. It was a pleasure to meet you, Chris. It was great talking to you.
Deadline.